Hey, hot chicken on the gas, gas by the bat, in the back by the nightstand. Hey, hot chicken on the gas, gas by the bat, in the back by the nightstand. Hey, hot chicken on the gas, gas by the bat, in the back by the nightstand. Hey, hot chicken on the gas, gas by the. All right, if we didn't want it, if we didn't have it as biblical as we wanted it, one more story comes our way, and that is, of course, that of locusts swarm skies of Mexico, leaving people fearing that the world is ending. If there wasn't enough signs already, this is pretty crazy. It says it was a cool Tuesday afternoon that the residents of Sananchi, a small town in southeastern Mexico, first heard the hissing. That's right, hissing. Looking out their windows, the leaves of the fruit trees, their back gardens had been licked clean. Well chewed on, lemons, oranges, and Hoya covered the grass. But not a single one of the Sananchi's some 3,100 residents had to look far for the culprit, or culprits rather. All they had to do was look up. Miles-long clouds of locusts have been blanketing the skies of the state of Yucatan this week, flying through shopping plazas, smacking into windows of apartment complexes, and gobbling up anything green in the local parks. Social media users and the Mexican press both asked the same question: is this the sign that the world is coming to an end? Now, what's even scarier about this is we've covered these locust swarms in other countries, and we've even seen and covered how far that they have traveled. These are in Mexico, which is right down below us. What is the pattern here? Is there going to be a locust swarm here? And is there going to be a 40-mile wide one like we had over the last couple years? If so, it could wipe out our farming on top of years that are already really bad off. So this is one biblical sign that we really didn't need right now. And again, we'll talk about this and much, much more on today's episode of Marfoogle TV. We're going to talk about the information that they're saying is stating that around Christmas something may happen and that sleepers may be activated. Everything coming at you right now. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfugglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Hot chicken on the gas, gas by the bat, in the back by the nightstand. Hey, hot chicken on the gas, gas by the bat, in the back by the nightstand. Hey, hot chicken on the gas, gas by the bat, in the back by the nightstand. Hey, hot chicken on the gas, gas by the. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. If you want a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today, we have sources on our website. That way, you won't be in the dark of where we got this information. That is also so you can fact check us and go back and say, oh, that's fake news. You can go verify it for yourself. Again, that is so we can cover our own butts as well. So if you go over there, you can see that today's thumbnail is there. Sleeper activated. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Again, they're saying that around Christmas time that some sort of sleeper operation may be activated. We'll talk about that. This is a lot of people are going to doubt what is happening right now, but at the same time, preppers kind of look at it as even if it was a 0.1% chance of happening, we're going to be aware of it and know that it may be a possibility. Many people are in the dark and they'll probably completely miss this. Even if they do hear about it at the water cooler, they're not going to pay attention to it. Most of the people you know are stuck scrolling on videos and trying whatever they can do to distract themselves from all of the things that we look up on the daily.
All of the stuff that you are deep into, and I know that my community is almost all of us are the same way. We want to know. I think our curiosity is what really kills us. We want to know everything that's going on. We want to know of any chance of anything coming our way. Whereas other people are in the dark and they're in the dark on purpose, and they say ignorance is bliss. But at this point, it's getting to a fire point. It's getting to a point where we are headed into a hot World War III. I think we are already in World War III, but we're heading into the hot stages of it, and we are headed into a time of really tumultuous events, possible grid downs, possible cyber attacks, possible bank downs. All of these events are very, very possible. If you haven't been following what's been going on with all of the cyber events happening, it's been picking up on a daily basis. We've been covering these things over months, and it's getting worse. That is for sure. But remember, you have that there. That is a resource for you. It's also searchable and archived. So you can go back through previous shows, or if you are a creator yourself, you can use it as a reference for past news stories. I guarantee have covered all of the really crazy things going on pretty much for the last 5 years. So you can go back to that and use that. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So Locust in Mexico is really freaky because I guess when I as somebody who doesn't know anything about the culture of locusts, I remember us covering the locusts across Africa. Pretty much locusts, one thing I do know is that they leave a wake of just emptiness, that there's nothingness. Any kind of plants or grass that they come in contact with is gone like that. We're talking about the couple years ago, they had a 40-mile wide cloud of locusts. And they were worried about it at that point. And I remember talking about this, that there were articles and professors going over the fact that they were worried that it would come over this way. Now we have this huge locust swarm, which I don't believe I've covered any locust swarms in 5 years in Mexico. Maybe this has happened before. Somebody made a comment saying locusts in the United States was a regular thing back in the 1800s. Do we have a defense against this? Dex, this is like really freaky stuff. Not to mention it's straight out of the Bible.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, I've never seen them myself, so I could imagine if I heard that noise or I was outside and that's what I saw, it would be pretty bad. The worst I've done is driven through love bugs in Florida, which is nothing like this, but still a mess. But yeah, that's there's a lot of history behind this in the different regions and where it happens, but there's also a lot of history even from a biblical standpoint, and even pre that there's been a lot of history in when locusts were swarming and what it has meant. So, yeah, something to at least talk about. And to the extent that it may mean something, then that's okay too.
And some of the more, I guess, spiritually minded people are looking at this and saying this is not a good omen. It's definitely not a good omen. That's to say the least. Remember, you can also find all of our mods. Our mods are keeping the chat peaceful, and they're also very helpful, helping all of the Fugle fam and the Mafia find links or resources, or if they can't find the website, or if they can't find an affiliate, the mods are there to help. They are all available over at marfooglenews.com/friends. They all have their own minds, their own personalities, their own wonderful channels and creations over at marfooglenews.com/friends, all the way from Wages World, all the way up to Bones. Of course, great mentions in between. Trinity puts a ton of work into her videos. She is coming up on 7,000 subscribers. Ilea does a great job coming up on 3. And of course, Rip Curl coming up on 5. Lisa, again, one of the sweetest people in the world. Jammer1 is such a nice guy. And of course, you have everyone in between. CJ Blaze, again, has a great channel as well. Make sure to go check all of them out over at marfooglenews.com and go get one of Chance's books. He's got books on Amazon. He's an author. Go check him out. And then fears that vast mass terror cell network will be activated over Christmas in the UK and Europe as Israel issues an urgent warning. So you take everything with a grain of salt, but also if you're in the mind of, oh, this is all, if you believe more things are planned or orchestrated, then I would say pay double attention. because if there are things like this, then after a big event, they can go back and say, yeah, we had warnings of this. There were rumors and chatter of this beforehand. Why didn't we stop it? Even in, on December 7th, they even talked about this. And how did they not catch it? That kind of thing. They're saying that Israel has issued a chilling warning to 20 European countries over a massive network of Hamas agents operating undercover. It comes days after the EU warned of a huge risk of T attacks. Now, that was the EU, not to mention FBI, on top of all of the 20 other things that people were questioning Christopher Wray over, the head of the FBI. They were questioning about the EpiPen, plane logs, all of that. And that's really what got shared out. All of that got shared out. Very few shared out the fact that he said that we've seen so many threats and we've never seen so many threats from so many different directions all at the same time. Now, most people believe that he was just straight up reading off a script like an actor, and he probably is. But at the same time, you wonder, what is the legitimacy of that? Do they just say that and 10 years goes by and nothing ever happens and it was just this thought in the wind? Or is it something that could come? We have had big events. We've had big events that have changed our lives. Remember this: if you are the notion of it being all scripted and everything else, think about the 2001 event and how that brought in the Patriot Act. Think about the J6 thing, how that is bringing in things right now. Think about the other events over the years throughout other countries, the train events and other things that have brought other countries. In New Zealand, that event that happened, that changed the world's internet. You can't just pop open a cell phone and go live anymore because of that. Nowhere on this platform. And now you have to have so many subscribers before you can go live on a mobile, which means the whole world can't just pop out a cell phone unless they've got a preordained mission to be a YouTuber. They're not going to be able to put a piece of live content on unless they go through a rigmarole. That changed things. And not on top of that, there's many countries that now are already trying to get people to hook their identities to their internet, so they cannot post anonymously, which here, that would really mess up with the whistleblower protections, and it would also mess up with freedom of speech, being able to say what you want without having some sort of punishment that comes with it. Now, in other countries, you say something online, you will have police at your door. And the things that police are coming to people's doors for, quite debatably calm and pretty nice compared to some of the stuff that we see being said on a different side, and it's just looked over like nothing. I mean, heck, a comedian can post a picture of the Prez without a top half of his body, and that's okay. But if somebody else says that they think, JB should pass or something, they might have somebody knocking at their door. And this is an example because really it's more in Europe and other places. And I believe Australia is doing the same thing right now with people coming to their door. But with this is around Christmas time. This is one of the biggest Christian holidays out there. And you're talking about the big enemy in this for all of our adversaries is Israel, which is one of the few governments that runs their government basically right alongside their religion. Dex, this is freaky. They're talking about sleeper cells, not something that we've actually talked about for a long time, and especially sleeper cells from different countries here in the United States. Even though they're warning about the EU, they've been warning the whole world, DHS and all of these other travel advisories and things that are putting out, saying that we may have some sort of big 2001 type event.
Exactly. And, taking the orchestration hat off and just saying, okay, well, this stuff is organic and happening, then you have to also consider that where it's coming from. This, we had one warning from our FBI, so that's one group we can pay attention to. We had one from the EU, but now this one's coming from and that's so much more. I don't want to call it valid, but they're certainly close to the group, closer to that specific T group than anyone else, and they have had a vested interest in analyzing and studying and digging into as much information about what they may be doing with their operations, so to speak. So they're probably the one that would have the most information about what that organization was going to be planning or doing. Although it didn't do them much good October 7th because they seemed to have no clue that that was going to happen. So you could also just turn around and take this with a grain of salt. But that's just one more thing to take into consideration. At the end of the day, though, you could say they're all together and they're all just making hay about it.
And somebody said maybe this is why Bethlehem canceled Christmas. Yeah, because they did. They canceled the nativity scene too, which is really, I think that's historical. We never actually verified that night. We got questioned if that's ever happened before. So I don't know if that's ever happened before, but that's something that I've never heard of. And then somebody else made a comment. I don't know if you were saying that I was covering that, but I don't know if there's somebody else that was talking about this as well. But the 4 of the biggest elite bunkers, these bunkers are like $2 million minimums right now, are asking their clients, and well, not asking, they're sending these pods to their clients to put their heirlooms. And basically how these companies work is a lot of them will get heads up on these things because of how high up the people that organize them are. So they'll get 15 minutes warning or 20 minutes warning. All of them have similar systems of like, you have a certain amount of time to get it to a private plane to get to the bunker. If you're not into the bunker by a certain time, then you're out. Like, it doesn't matter. You paid $2 million, you are locked out. So you better get there on time, no matter what you have to do. If you have to take somebody's life, whatever else, to get there, then that's what you're doing. These are real companies that are incredibly secretive. They have private locations, some of them on hundreds of acres of land, and essentially someone close to that. There's multiple private companies that work for these places, and essentially they have everything done in-house. They're asking their clients to fill up these pods with things that they wouldn't grab in the if you had 15 minutes to go, are you going to grab your family albums, or are you going to grab your kids? Are you going to grab, heirlooms from your family or artwork that's been handed down from great grandparents? Or are you going to grab your pets? That kind of thing. So they're saying that they're sending them pods because they believe there's some sort of high risk situation right now. And this was a few days ago. This was at the peak of when they were talking about the lung stuff. But again, they haven't mentioned that ever since. It's just like China said, hey, don't cover that. Stop covering that. And then media said, okay. Dex, go ahead. But they are sending them pods, which is really crazy. I don't know if other people are covering that or if there's more stuff to verify that, but please let me know and email me at adam@marfooglenews.com. Dex, go ahead.
Well, speaking of events during Christmas, we just had about 20 minutes ago. There's not a lot of information out yet. A Christmas parade in Bakersfield where a truck has had a collision with the people in that parade, and they are rerouting the parade and continuing it. But no information has come out yet. They say 3 people were injured, and that's about the extent of the information. So that's kind of breaking. I'll throw a link up on the website so you guys can see it. I'm sure there'll be a lot more information probably by tomorrow morning as to whether or not this is one of those things you worry about, or if it's just literally an accident. It could be either. But these are the types of things that we're going to be either thinking about, or they're going to be in the back of our mind, or we're going to be needing to pay attention to and be alert for.
Does Louis Strongarm says, does EMP affect airplanes? It does affect airplanes, but it doesn't affect certain older airplanes. So I'm assuming they have a plan with older airplanes. Just so you know, we actually covered stories regarding that the USA, the US and other countries were trying to dust off museum-style planes. And this was at the same time that the U.S. did drills in the Midwest, or I forget what part of the Midwest. I feel like it was Arizona or Idaho, but they were doing, you can look this up, look up military doing exercises without GPS. GPS, military is GPS jamming military exercises. You'll find all of these drills that they were doing a few years ago where they were taking their planes and they were trying to fly completely without all of the tools that they normally have. In the movies, they show an EMP going off or something going off, and all of the planes fall from the sky. I don't know if that's how it would exactly work, But I assume if it's a really high tech plane that could happen. But a lot of the, private planes that people are in, by the way, most of these companies, the people that are flying there, they are purposely not going to commercial airlines. They're going to the tiny airports that people have private planes. So private single rotor motor, engine airplanes. I believe a lot of these older ones and ones that specifically are made for that can fly. So I wouldn't see a problem with that, just as an older car would not be affected by an EMP. Because back in the day, the cars, if you pressed on the gas, when you pressed it down, it would physically have a wire that would pull and inject gasoline. Nowadays, you press on the gas, it's all computerized. You press on that, and then it tells the computer how much gas to put in, which is really stupid. I some of the things in the cars they did for like gas efficiency, I don't understand. I guess I do understand, but why is there not more options that are just more old school? Like, can't they make a company that makes more classic cars? Oh, wait, they can't because of the environment. But I understand that there's custom people that make cars, or you can buy an old car and fix it up. But some systems like that of being able to push the gas and it injects a certain amount of gas, I don't know why that had to change. I don't. I'm not a mechanic, though, so don't take my word for it. Electronic fuel injection. Exactly. I don't understand that. But I know mechanics are going to go, oh, well, that's because of this and this. I'm just saying it seems like a simple thing that didn't have to be replaced, but I get it. If you do that, it's going to put a lot more gas in and it would be a gas guzzler. Better stock on toilet paper, LOL. T-Rex, people already have. There was a 5-hour line. The last day that they were talking about the lung stuff, there was a 5-hour wait at some Costco's. So people had the same reaction, and maybe that's why they pulled back the media about it. But it seems like it was kind of odd timing that China made an announcement that they wanted media companies to stop talking about it and stop making it look bad because it makes China look bad. All of a sudden, it's like you don't hear anything about it when it was a daily coverage of now it's in Ohio, now it's in Massachusetts, now there was one gentleman on the side of 4th Street with my lung, and then it's just disappeared. That to me screams weird. And then thank you, by the way. Thank you, Wide Awake and Angry. Ridiculous. The Pale King, he understands cars as much as the locust culture. Hey, Pale King, you are completely right on that. Janet Ruth Haynes, our enemies feed on fear. Most vehicles have fuel rods to pressurize the gas before it goes to the EFI. Thank you. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of guys who know cars and going to be like, oh, that's why. That's awesome. I wish I knew more about cars, especially I'm not going to be very useful in SHTF. That's for sure. And then, I get TP delivered every week. My 1987 Chevy RV 454 will run. You are probably right. That's why a lot of folks are even buying old cars just to have on hand. Adam and Dex, thanks for all you do to bring us the news to us. Thank you, Shastina. I appreciate that. Biblical Smackdown. Hugs Aunt B. What's happening? Poco Loco. Truth Iris. And we've got Tina Jarvis. Stick with the older models. Well, at the same point, older models have horrible gas mileage. So with today's gas prices at $5.50 a gallon here, it's not too fun to drive an old car or drive a V8 or drive a bigger vehicle. It sucks a lot. Let's see here. 454. Did I say 454? And then Jess, let's see here. Mr. F. Jammer, the 454 rocks. And then why stuck on toilet paper last minute? In emergency shortage, just use the shower, LOL. Well, that wouldn't work if you don't have water, though. California just banned old cars after 2027. Yeah, there's a lot of weird things out there. They're banning stoves. They're banning all these different ways of living. They're going to change our lives by 2030 is what they're saying. And then Russia warns U.S. that Ukraine will be its second Vietnam. That's kind of that's kind of a horrible comment here, and if they keep going and keep supporting it, then I could see the relation there. Keep going and going and going with never ever kind of a win. Dex, what do you think about them saying it could be their second Vietnam?
Well, I think they've taken this long game approach, and they're not going anywhere. It's basically their territory, or it's up against their territory. They're right there in it. We have to gather everyone else to fund this initiative. We have to gather other countries together. We have to pay for it ourselves. When I say we, I mean the U.S. So, and it's not in our backyard. It's not right here. It's on the other side of the globe. So it's, I kind of jokingly thought, well, why wouldn't you call it an Afghan too? Because it's like we've had numerous of these where we've just spent a ton of time and really didn't get much done, and then walked away from. And so did they. Like, who are they to talk? Because they did the same exact thing in Afghan too. So, but yeah, they're really these are just words they're throwing out. It's probably a rah rah for their point. At the end of the day, it goes hand in hand with the narrative that JB is trying to put out, which is like, if we don't fund UKR, then Russia's going to win, and then they're going to be emboldened, and then we're going to be fighting them with NATO. We don't necessarily know that. That's just what they're telling us. But certainly we know that nobody's in wanting to fund this right now. There's just not a lot of people wanting to back it.
Yeah, and this the whole speech saying, they essentially said, JB said, if you don't do it, well, the whole thing is we're going to protect every inch of NATO, and you have to understand that if they take Ukraine, then at some point they might try to take NATO. Everyone's comments on that, and I watched that broadcast live with 25,000 people watching live on one of those news feeds. Every single comment says, okay, well, then we'll start helping when it's approaching NATO. Like, let them take Ukraine. As far as people don't care, they're like, hey, then wait until they're affecting NATO, because Ukraine is not our problem. It is not our ally. It's not part of NATO. There's the few ties there are between JB himself, his son, and other people there, and probably half of the politicians in charge right now. Maybe they have family there or bastard kids there. I don't know. But one thing I do know is that they're not a part of NATO, and that's not to be insensitive to the people of Ukraine. I don't see many other countries helping us out with our problems, and we have our own problems. We have a ton of problems. Everybody can do the cliche like, oh, we've got border, this and that. But straight up, there are people here that are doing very badly. All of our major cities look like open air drug markets, and it's not getting any better. And I don't understand why we are sending billions of dollars for the sake of, because down the road it may affect us. Well, wait until it does affect us. That's my opinion. At this point, they're not a NATO ally. Why aren't they a NATO ally? Well, why aren't more people asking, and since the beginning asking, why doesn't Ukraine just get a free pass and enter NATO? Understandably, there's paperwork to go. But after this started, Finland applied for and got in this entire time. Well, that would put us in war right away. Well, there's a reason why they weren't in NATO before all of this went down. Even the worst of the worst, bottom of the barrel people like Mr. Gates said that UKR, in a recent interview, said is one of the most corrupt places in the world. The 9 people directly under Zelensky stepped down or resigned because there were questions being asked about how they had supercars and $1 million mansions. The very people that were recruiting soldiers in their country to fight, those recruiting agencies were caught swindling millions of dollars. So, and then you've got people right underneath the president there, the guy who literally portrayed a president on TV, and they were like, oh yeah, he looks like it, he does a good job, he's personable, and they put him in that actual position. He played a president, a regular guy, a regular Joe that mysteriously got put as a president on a show. And then years later, they said, oh, yeah, okay, let's do it in real life. I mean, like, it's crazy. The same guy that has videos of him as an actor in BDSM gear is now the professional hero on Facebook pictures and stuff. Like, our world is topsy-turvy at best. For people saying, I get people's, trying to be optimistic, but we're going down the crapper, and people aren't speaking up. And the people that are speaking up are on the side that's trying to silence people. it's getting absolutely nuts. That money could go into a million projects. And we saw stuff like this, like the money that's going over there for China's visit, for Xi Jinping's visit. They cleaned up whole chunks of San Francisco overnight. And they can't do that any other time. They can't go to downtown Seattle. At the courthouse in downtown Seattle, there is a tent city that's been there forever. I haven't been there in a couple months, but it was there for years, and it's probably still there. And if anybody's been downtown Seattle recently, you go to the courthouse area, because this whole area is like legal buildings. You'll see there is a literal tent city in the same park that is attached to the courthouse. So when they get arrested, they go, "Oh, okay, come on upstairs." It's absolutely nuts. All of the streets downtown, all of the areas are now 10 times more dangerous because there's no businesses open. All of the businesses, there's businesses that have been boarded up since the riots of 3 years ago or 2 years ago. That should be our priority, not some other country that really there was a million chances for things to go a different direction. It's like they want it to happen. The question is all of that money going to the right place? And time again, we have seen proof and evidence that that money is not going to where it needs to go to. And then guess what? U.S. holds military exercises in Guyana as border tensions soar. Didn't see this one from a million miles away. Dex and I were talking on the show, like right when this popped out, 4 or 5 nights ago when this was mentioned, and then 2 nights ago when they were saying that the vote approved. So Venezuela said, "Oh, we're going to take a vote," and this vote is if they approve of taking over Guyana and taking back the resources that are in Guyana. It's a resource-rich place. Venezuela, already being one of the most oil-rich countries, resource-rich countries, is now saying, "Oh, let's do a vote and let's vote if everybody's okay with taking over Guyana." Well, apparently not everybody showed up to the vote. In fact, very few people showed up, and the people that did, that weren't tied up in a back room somewhere, they said, "Yeah, we should." Venezuela Maduro said, "Oh, well, we're not absolutely going to do it. We're just voting to see if everybody approved of it." Well, now within a week, and we said somehow U.S. is going to be involved in this. This is going to be another proxy. We are bleeding out our weapons. We are bleeding out our support. We're bleeding out our money, leaving the U.S. open for a literal invasion. We have people coming over, millions of people coming down through the South, and we have people with plans to literally take number one at the same time as all of this is going down. We are helping Israel. We're helping Ukraine. We're going to be helping Guyana. We're possibly going to be helping South Korea. We're going to possibly be helping Japan. We're going to be doing all of this. And it's like we're bleeding ourselves dry. It looks like somebody is pulling strings to make us give up all of our weapons, to put us in a position where we're vulnerable, where we don't have the strongest military in the world anymore, or at least temporarily we won't, because we won't have stuff. It says the United States said it will carry out military flights in Guyana on Thursday in a joint operation as the South American country faces soaring tensions with neighboring Venezuela over a contested oil-rich region. In collaboration with the Guyana Defense Force, which no one has ever heard of, I guarantee, the U.S. Southern Command will conduct flight operations within Guyana on December 7th. It says the American Embassy in Guyana said in a statement, noting that the flights are part of, quote, routine engagement to enhance security partnership between the two countries, which most people didn't know we had a partnership with. Dex, this is exactly what we speculated. We said, "Oh, I bet you this is going to happen." And now it is happening.
Certainly, pick an adversary. If any one of those adversaries of ours is in any region that is important and especially has anything to do with oil, decides to pick on someone else, you can certainly find the U.S. taking the opposite side. That's always going to happen. I mean, look at us in UKR. Look at us throughout the Middle East. Look at, even in Asia. So we're certainly it was an easy guess, I would say, when we came up with this, but we were literally said it the day they talked about this. It hadn't been in the news, it hadn't been talked about. I said, sure enough, and you said it too. Sure enough, the U.S. will step in and we'll have a new conflict down there. And now here we go. We've got, I think we even have um, Blinken making a statement about this today as well, saying, "Hey, we'll protect, or we're here to, support and protect your borders, and your sovereignty." So yeah, this will ramp up if Venezuela actually does something. It is our opportunity to get involved in something else.
I bet you they will. And mark my words, we're going to see a Venezuela versus Guyana proxy war where Iran and Russia are supporting Venezuela, and we're going to be supporting Guyana. This is another proxy conflict that we're going to be involved in. We're going to be sending gear and money, and they're going to be begging Congress, well, Guyana, we can't just let them sit there on their own. At this point, many Americans are saying, yes, you should. We need to start looking inside our borders for problems and fix those first. What do they say in the Bible? If take the sliver out of your eye before, I guess that's more judgmental. Take the sliver out of your eye before you comment on somebody else's, right? We need to look at our own country. Our own country is falling right now. We are the new Rome. We are modern day Rome, and they really need to start. Pulling this stuff back. But are they? Of course not. This is a long-term mission. This is somebody's operation you're seeing. I firmly believe that this is because half of our politicians are bought and paid for by other countries, and they are purposely sabotaging ourselves. That's what I think. But again, everybody have your own thoughts on it. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Bubba One says 100. Hey, thank you, Bubba One. I appreciate that. Sharon Davis, thank you for the support, and I appreciate that. Alex Hawkins says opinions of vids of people blipping out of existence. Alex Hawkins, I would have to see which ones you're talking about, but there's so many fake videos, and especially now there's AI generated videos that are, some of them are really believable looking. So I would have to see what you mean. I feel like I have seen something on Twitter about that, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. If you can, send me one or comment where I can find it or what I can search in the chat. And then Aaliyah, Julie Pilkerton, Carol White, thank you for the support yesterday. I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you, Danish Girl. Thank you, of course, FG, Carol, Kelly, Julie Pilkerton, thank you for this week. Ready, Set, Survive, Nick, Kingdoms of Erden, Stormhawk, Survival Living, Chanel Beveliqua, and then Keith Simmons, Lucy Jake, Richard Koschmeider, and Mitch Mouth. Thank you guys. Before we move on, I do want to remind you, if you do want to protect yourself, there is a solid way to do so with an EMP shield. This is easily put into your car, truck, or any other vehicle that really rolls, including boats and RVs, motorhomes. This can be put in, and it will protect your vehicle against EMP. As we talked about, all of the newer vehicles are all digitized. I may not be a mechanic that knows about a carburetor, but I do know that it's very simple to put this thing in. If somebody like me who doesn't know how these systems work can do this, then so can you. Go to marfuglenews.com/EMP. All you have to do is hook up the red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and green to ground or a part of your frame, and you're set up. As far as the home version, that's a little bit more complicated, but the home version is a huge, huge plus. If you have this wired in professionally to your house, you then can have 250 linear feet from where it's wired in, all protected, everything plugged in, from your fridges to computers, whatever else it is, and all three phases of an EMP hit multiple times or a Carrington level event from the sun, then your devices are still going to be working and they're not going to be fried. It will ground the signal in 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to kill them. So go to marfuglenews.com/EMP. If you use the code MARF, you're helping our independent channel. Plus, you are getting a huge $50 off discount, which stacks on top of any sale that they run. So go over to marfuglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. That can protect anything from your home, solar system, solar generator in the case of the energy, all of your vehicles, motorcycles if you want to bug out on those, or if you work far from home to get home to bug in. Again, thank you guys and appreciate it. Marfooglenews.com/EMP. Dex, do you want to talk about Iran's Raisi tells Raisi? Is it says Raisi tells Putin in Moscow that West backs the strip genocide?
Well, with his trip after seeing the Saudis and UAE, I believe he was headed over to Iran. So Putin went there. Of course, the headline coming out is their rhetoric around how they feel about what's going on with the Israel and Strip conflict. So that's kind of a given because of the side they take. But I'm sure what also went down was securing the deal for the military gear that they're supposed to be buying from Russia. Remember, we talked a few days ago about them buying jets, them being Iran, buying jets and other equipment. And I'm sure that we'll probably see some, like if you just remember when Kim met with Putin, then later comes out and he's got a whole bunch of new toys and starts doing new things. So it won't surprise me, not that necessarily Putin's flying around in his big jet and dropping toys out of it for his partners, but these types of relationships continue to build and strengthen from these meetings. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that went on that's not in this article, that's not being talked about to the press, that is what's really important and what's happening with the alliances that they have forged amongst their own allies. And I think what's important from that is what will we see come next? Like they recently launched their hypersonics, and will we start to see other technology, or more so the nuclear ambitions that they have will come faster now? Do they get something from Russia to help them with that?
Something I just noticed is back when you could look up Marfoogle News, and I guess maybe it might be on my end, but it would show the live show like today's thumb. Now it shows you YON, like the Indian news network. Why would they connect that to a search for our name? It's like, I guess the news part of it, but they're just gonna completely ignore the first part, right? Thank you, Grace, for you too. I appreciate that. Prayers going up for you, Adam, Dex, and Mods, and of course the Foogle fam. Well, thank you, Grace, for you too. And then Mirror504, thank you. Tommy Sparks, so many really old school Foogle fam here. Lady Owl, Honey Badger, Bella Rose, Lord Andrew, and all sorts of great people. 2.6 thousand here. Thank you guys for making it tonight. And then we have highly contagious and potentially lethal 100-day cough sweeping across Britain. Did they just change midway? They were like, let's change it up. Health experts have issued a warning about a highly contagious disease known as the 100-day cough. That's currently spreading across the UK. The bacterial infection, which has seen a 250% increase in cases, start with cold-like symptoms, but can lead to severe coughing fits lasting up to 3 months. The outbreak of whooping cough is also known as pertussis, and the 100-day cough, due to its long-lasting symptoms, has tripled in cases this year compared to last over the past 5 months. One thing that has been that I just saw them talking about, everybody on Twitter was talking about for a few hours, it was trending, was the combo that, right? So the more of these things that come out, the how long, the this, the that. So one thing is those things are extremely down. One thing I saw said 15% of people are getting the new one. And basically a ton of people are like, nah, we're good. Even the ones that did get it aren't getting it renewed, right? And now they're talking about adding other things to it. So you'll get this, and it's going to protect you versus this, versus that, versus this, versus that. So if any one of these things scares you, you're going to go get that thing with all of the protections, right? It's a combo. It's a combo, a mixture, right? It will protect you against everything. I'm just throwing this out there. I bet you this is going to end up in that combo. This, the white, this, that, and the CV are all going to be thrown into one. What do you want to bet? But Dex, you just came down with a sickness, and behind the scenes, you're actually having a rough time there, blowing your nose every 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you think about that when you saw this?
Of course, I even when we talked about the other stuff that they're trying to cover up now in China, I thought about that too, as if things felt like they might be going towards my chest. But it's also cold season, so there's all sorts of things going around. But if this lasts 100 days, then I may be in that camp, and that's kind of a scary thought to have something that sticks around that long, because that would be pretty horrible.
Well, one thing is, some people will be like, "Oh," I think at one point during CV, I think people are lying if they said that at one point, because everybody now they want to say, "Oh, I was never scared. I never thought of it. Oh, I knew it was this. I knew it was that." I think people are lying if they say that not at one point during that whole time period, during the whole up and down towards the media frenzy that it put out, the scary videos, all of this, at one point, I think everyone at one point was scared of that. I know that there's a lot of people. I knew somebody who I saw, this is somebody I know, wearing a covering, and to this day does not admit to ever wearing them. Because after a few months, they did stop wearing them, but they said, "Oh, I never did." And I didn't say, I'm like, "I saw you with one on." So it was like at one point they were scared about it, but then after more and more stuff came out, then they said, "Oh, I'm never wearing one, and I'm going to fight every person in every store about it." Here it was very strict. A lot of the videos that came out of people getting in fights with like Dollar Trees and Safeways and stuff like that came from Washington, because we had super strict rules about wearing stuff over your face. We were one of the stupid states that had the arrows in the grocery stores, so you could only go one way through the mac and cheese aisle, and then you would have to go back this way, and if you forgot something, you got to walk back around. We actually had some stores enforcing that, saying, "Nope, you got to turn around and walk that way," like we were in some sort of camp. I mean, it was nuts. We were the testing grounds for all the crazy ideas. Whereas, like, Florida was the complete opposite. They were like, "Well, we're testing, just not doing anything." We were the opposite. And I knew when this started, when all that stuff started, that it was going to be bad, but it was more bad for us, bad for small businesses, bad for the economy, bad for all of our pockets. But I think at one point or another, everybody was scared by that, because that was a fear campaign like no other. We've never seen something like that in our lives, and it was all to get the protection. Well, now nobody's getting it. So how do they get you in the door? I don't know. Do you think it might have something to do with 100 days or white organs? Don't know. And then Pentagon grounds entire Widowmaker Osprey fleet after fatal Japan crash. This is crazy, Dex. So we know that Japan said, "We're not going to let the Ospreys fly over here," but now they're grounding the entire Osprey fleet, or the Widowmaker Osprey fleet. What the heck?
Yeah, apparently there's a preliminary investigation. Information indicated that there was a potential material failure that caused the mishap, but the underlying cause of the failure is unknown. And that's a quote from General Tony Barnfield, sorry, the head of the Air Force Space Operations Command. So that would sort of tell them, "Hey, look, we found something that could happen to any one of these. And if we can't figure out how to prevent it, then we have to ground them, because of it's a mechanical type of issue." So I don't know what that is. Maybe we'll find out later. I'm sure they may come out in due time and tell us, especially if they put them back in the air. They will tell the public, "Hey, we fixed what it is." But yeah, they're grounding these guys, all of them. So that's a big deal. And I know a lot of people sort of look at them and go, "Yeah, they're flying rocks. They're pretty dangerous," because they've had like 20 something crashes. They even had like a significant number of that during their test period when they were first built, because of the way they're designed. But yes, we still move them. They can move a lot of cargo and a lot of crew in short areas, and can get in and out of places without runways. So they're very handy.
I just find it's weird that it's happening now. And then, so the nickname of the Osprey is the Widowmaker. Is that true? Or are they saying they're now calling it the Widowmaker? That's what I didn't get.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been called that before. It might be just because of the number of crashes it's had. Maybe somebody in the so at least 50 individuals have lost their lives in either operating or testing the Osprey, which has earned its nickname, the Widowmaker. So yeah, that is an actual nickname, and that probably goes hand in hand with all the crashes. I said 20, which I knew was a number. 19 or 20 was during the testing. So yeah, it says 50 people have lost their lives. That's significant.
Black Hawk and Hui has a better safety record than Osprey. Well, yeah, because this isn't a straight up helicopter. It's a weird helicopter plane mix. It also doesn't have auto rotation. A normal helicopter, even if the engines fail, the sheer pressure on the blades makes it spin fast enough to slowly bring it down to the ground. I'm sure it doesn't always work, but I'm sure your chances in a regular helicopter compared to any other thing is better than not, right? With the Ospreys, they fall out of the sky like a rock. But it's like at one point, you kind of have to accept that. It's just kind of like if you're in a car, you're going to get in a car accident. But why now? It seemed like they knew something right off the bat because Japan grounded them. They said, we're not flying. Right off the bat, they found something that was strange about the Osprey. I don't think it's just the sheer numbers of it, because after this one crash, within a day, they ended up doing that and grounding it. So I think that they found something strange, some sort of sabotage, or maybe a part in it that was, that's what I said back then. I said, watch, they're going to find some sort of problem with it or some issue. I was thinking maybe there was parts in it from China, like sort of how our F-35s were grounded. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's see here. Thank you, Ladybug. Thank you, Steel Hauling DC. Thank you for becoming Marfia members. And then Richard Koschmeider, thank you again. Appreciate that. And Grace for you too. Stephen McMahon. And Sharon, thank you for popping in. China starts up world's first fourth-generation nuclear reactor. China has started commercial operations at a new generation nuclear reactor that is the first of its kind in the world, state media said on Wednesday. It says compared with previous reactors, the fourth generation Shaidaowan plant in China's northern Shandong province is designed to use fuel more efficiently and improve its economics. Not only that, the safety and environmental footprint as China turns to nuclear power to try to meet carbon emissions goals. Xinhua News Agency also said that the 200 megawatt high temperature gas cooled reactor, the HTGCR plant, developed jointly by state-run utility Hanyang, it says uses a modular design. Modular plants refer to those that are less than 300 megawatts that can be constructed off-site. Proponents say that they can operate in remote locations and power traditionally hard-to-abate heavy industry sectors, but critics say that they are too expensive. So this also means that they can bring this to some of their little islands. They could build this off-site and bring it to somewhere like the Spratly Island. They could make islands out in the middle of the ocean and then bring a modular piece-built, kind of like a manufactured home, only they could build nuclear reactors wherever they want. That's kind of a trip if you really think about it. NuScale Power, previously expected to be the first U.S. company licensed to build a small modular reactor, said this month it was terminating a planned 462 megawatt project in Utah. It says because of rising costs. So just like, we were going to build a housing unit there, but the lumber is too expensive. They're saying that because of that, they stopped the Utah project of a similar one, modular. So it's sad that we're seeing a lot of innovation stories out of China, and the stories out of the U.S. and Washington are of them sending money somewhere else. Just a reminder, if you haven't already, go over and check out Harvest Right. There is another, I believe, 7 days, a week left on the $500 off. It was extended because of special circumstances. They unfortunately really early ran out of the smallest machine that they have. So on all of the other machines they have, they're extending the Black Friday $500 off on the Harvest Right machines. These are freeze dryers. These are some of the best and most coveted freeze dryers. During CV and other disasters, these things were like Tickle Me Elmo in the 90s. Like nobody could get one. But as far as these go, this is a utility that you can use to freeze dry your own food. It can save you a ton of money, especially if you are trying to plan for multi months of prep food. If you go to buy, say, for a family of 4 and go buy 3 months of food for each person, this will definitely save you about 75% if you do that as far compared to just buying it pre-packaged. It's way cheaper to do it on your own. But if you are on your own and you want a 72-hour bug out kit, then yeah, this isn't the thing for you. It becomes a hobby. It is a really fun hobby to do. As far as freeze drying is absolutely one of the coolest things, because the food lasts 25 years and it keeps almost all of its nutrients and it keeps almost all of its flavor. Then in 20 years from now, if you want to eat it, you just add water or cook in water and it's back to life. It is one of the coolest ways to preserve food, and it is the best way, the longest serving compared to dehydration. And compared to dehydration, you actually keep in a lot of that stuff because it does a completely different way of preserving food. Go to marfooglenews.com/freeze to get that $500 off, and it is extended for the Foogle fam. So make sure to utilize that before the 15th. And then SpaceX and U.S. Space Force set to launch secretive X-37B space plane on December 10th. So we've talked about the experimental planes and the different things. Of course, people relate it to the what is it, like the ancient shard that's up there. But this it's not quite too clear what that thing actually does. But the U.S. Space Force's mysterious X-37B space plane is about ready to take flight for the 7th time. The Space Force and SpaceX are making final preparations for the planned Sunday evening launch of the robotic X-37B. Space Force officials emailed an update today, December 7th. The space plane is scheduled to lift off atop a Falcon Heavy rocket from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida during a 10-minute window that opens at 8:14 p.m. And again, on between that and, of course, if SpaceX webcasts the launch as expected, you'll be able to watch the action live at space.com. Now, Dex, what I think is a trip about this thing is we still don't know what it is. We still don't know exactly what Space Force does. When Space Force was created, people said, well, why? The Air Force, Space Command kind of handled all that stuff. Well, there's going to be things that we're talking about this week as far as AI, as far as drone swarms and other things that we're going to cover in other videos, that it is absolutely important to know what they are doing up with not only the Space Force, but with some of the technology that they're creating, like beaming power down from space. Something is brewing, and that much I think most people can see. Dex, what do you?
Yeah.
This thing ran for a long time last time, right?
It did. It's basically, you could almost think of it as like a miniature vehicle for doing tests or even potentially launching secretive stuff. The only thing that has ever been civilian and or non-classified, I should say, not, I don't know if it was civilian, it was probably a NASA project, but there was something about seeds. They were testing how seeds were affected to long-term exposure of space radiation. But everything else that happens on it is classified. They assume there's probably like new reconnaissance instrumentations or other things that the military will be doing and testing or maybe even deploying something alongside while they're doing it. But because they get this vehicle that they can send up, and they can leave it in orbit for a long period of time, kind of like a space shuttle, and it will come right back down and land. It gives them a great opportunity to do things, whether it's in addition to being able to bring something up, but also bring it up and then bring it back down and, adjust or work on or do whatever. So we don't know. It's all super secretive. It's all part of Space Force and their top secret missions. But It is a pretty cool plane or vehicle. You can't really call it a plane, but it does have wings and it does sort of glide back down. That's why I call it similar to like a space shuttle, but it is the X-37B. And yeah, we've covered it before. They call it a space plane.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a miniature plane version of an ISS type, uh, sort of. And then what's your P doom? The morbid question making rounds in tech. Dex, I'm going to let you explain this one.
Well, this is just a new terminology that is entering the. I guess it's going into the books of new words. But P doom refers to the percentage of doom that you feel AI will lead to. In other words, if you have a high P doom score, like 80, it means you're an AI doomer, and you actually think that AI has a very significant chance of, say, taking out the human race or destroying the world. Where if you have, say, a lower P doom score, like a 5, it means there's only like a 5% chance of doom. But apparently, they're starting to use this vernacular in the tech space. I thought it was rather interesting for us to talk about, just because I have a sneaking suspicion most of us are on one end of that spectrum, which is probably up there near the doomer area, because I know that we tend to feel like, and with right, in my opinion, right reasonings, to think that the way things are AI is running is we're probably going to be doomed if they don't get some guardrails on this or back off of some of the things they're doing, especially the probably what the military is doing, running so high speed with some of the stuff with pretty much no oversight, even though the administration has tried to put some in.
Now, there's somewhat breaking news out of Israel, guys. People are sending me different videos from different creators about Article 99 being invoked. Dex, can we get one that's pocket friendly as far as UN Secretary Jen Stoltenberg? And then we'll cover that here in a second. So we did get it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you for the text. And let's see here. And why no advertiser boycott? Musk nails Disney's Iger after Facebook sexual abuse bombshell. So, mind you, just before we went on, there was another funny meme that Elon just posted about Iger. Elon Musk took a shot at Disney CEO Bob Iger Thursday after the state of the New Mexico sued Meta for allegedly enabling the We1 abuse and trafficking, yet Disney and other woke advertisers who paused advertising on X in a knee-jerk reaction to claims of anti-Semitism. It says apparently have no problems when it comes to the exploitation of minors. So pretty hypocritical. It says, why no advertiser boycott? Bob Iger. I think that's not right, is it? Oh, it's spelled wrong. I'm like, what? Why does that look wrong? Musk posted on X, you are endorsing this material. So this back and forth between him and Bob Iger specifically, it's not going to help Bob. Either way, I don't see a lot of people that like Bob Iger. If you don't know the rough past, I have followed it because there's a good channel on YouTube called Nerdrotic who has covered all of Bob Iger's kind of quotes and the different things he's said. He's said multiple times that he doesn't want Disney to get into the culture war. They now own Star Wars, which is a lot, near and dear to a lot of us. They now own Marvel. They own all sorts of different IPs now. And many believe that the same people, the same couple people that they keep being put in charge of these movies and this media, they're essentially pandering. They even South Park did an episode called Panderverse, and I highly recommend watching it. It has Kathleen Kennedy and others mentioned in that. But a lot of the comments that Bob Iger has said over the past, it's super hypocritical. They are pushing so hard. They said to their investors, we want to stay out of a culture war. They said that before they did like 3 or 4 movies that completely went against everything Disney was for a long time ago. Which I believe Disney even somehow is now involved with Lego as well. I've noticed every company that Disney has touched has essentially gone this route. And it's really sad considering a lot of any of us that are 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus. Disney was a great thing when we were kids. Disney was something that you knew you could put your kid in front of, and you weren't worried about any weirdness or putting in politics into movies. It was like, here's a life lesson, like, everybody's going through something, and you can get through it or get back on the horse, or even if you did something bad, you can redeem yourself, like those kind of values, right? Don't steal, this kind of thing. And now it's like they're trying to teach you about gender politics and all sorts of other things. It's like, this doesn't belong in a video that's being put in front of a 4-year-old. And people want to argue about this and that. It's not about being messed up towards any kind of people. It's like, kids don't need to be watching that yet. If they want to decide that when they're an adult, then go ahead, do what you want. But as far as this whole battle, it's like, a lot of folks that I talk to, they don't know about, they have questions about Elon, rightfully so. He might be a representation of one evil, and Bob Iger and all of these other people are a representation of a different evil. It does feel like there are two big evils fighting right now. And really, it doesn't feel like there's any good guys. There are no heroes. Even the heroes are protagonists. They're like the Punisher. The Punisher was a bad guy, but he was the hero, right? Or something like that, where it's a bad guy, but they do good things. Dex, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just telling you that article you were looking for is in Screener.
Disney's never been good at subconsciously. Well, yeah, and then they had all sorts of stuff like Lion King and having SEX in the clouds or whatever. They always had stupid stuff in there. But I would say for the most part, you could put my kid just watched Dumbo the other day. And I think I called this out when I first saw it, but they have a warning in front of Dumbo. And it doesn't matter how you watch it, if you watch it on DVD or on demand, now they have a warning before Dumbo. And it says, the things said in this movie were never right, and they're still not right. It puts an emphasis on different cultures of people and blah, blah, blah. And it gives you a warning before you watch it that it was so wrong what they did. If you watch Dumbo, it characterized certain kinds of people or this or that. People are getting so sensitive about this stuff. It is absolutely mind-boggling. They are changing the past. They are trying to delete movies. They are trying to get rid of any content. This sounds like Germany. This sounds like they are. If you ever saw The Man in the High Castle, it looks like that is happening in real time. They are trying to get rid of statues. They're trying to essentially take down things of anything part of our history. And it's like, it's an evil guy saying, hey, we need to take this down. This guy was evil back in the day, but it's like they're currently being evil. I just don't understand it. They're rewriting history books. They've already re-released history books in major high schools that are completely tweaked. They're, version 6.9 or something, and now they're completely different. I understand that not everything in our past was peachy keen, but that's the point. If you don't learn from your mistakes, then how do you learn at all? You keep repeating the same thing. And we're definitely going to repeat history because this generation is now being taught about all of they're being taught in TV series and in videos that people do assume children are not the smartest in the world right off the bat. They learn from everything around them. It takes a village to raise a child. They're watching shows with African Americans in, being kings and queens in Europe and all sorts of weird things like, in Rome and all of these shows that show complete inaccuracies to history. And they say, oh, it's just fantasy. It's this. Okay, then why aren't there warnings before the show saying this didn't really happen? They put a warning before Dumbo. Then put, hey, this, just like they put, anybody resembling real characters or not, or something like that. It's purely by coincidence. This was not historically accurate. This is a fictional, fan fiction or fantasy. That way people would know. And everybody just assumes, oh, well, people knew that, so it's just fun, and it gets other people to do it. I mean, the tip of the iceberg, or the thing that broke the camel's back was trying to do Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs without dwarves. They've gone way overboard, and it feels like it's on purpose. It feels like they're trying to trigger people at this point. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. It's just getting nuts. All right, and then let's go over, we have Article 99. And I don't try to get political, but it's to the point where it's affecting everybody. I used to be in the library. Thanks. I appreciate you. And then, let's see here. Oh, thank you. Grace for you too. And Stephen McMahon, Mitchmouth, thank you. Stephen McMahon says, we've been spending almost $1 trillion a year on defense and research. It doesn't make sense. The USA has some incredible weaponry. Yeah. And who knows what they're doing with the black budgets. Mitch Mount, thanks guys for all of your work. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. And then let's get this story about the Article 99 on screen. Let's see here. Hey, Katie. So this could be a very big deal here. Guterres urges Security Council to act over Israel-Palestine crisis as a threat to international peace and security. Is this the correct one, Dex? Yeah, in a letter.
Yes, it is.
In a letter to the council, Mr. Guterres invoked Article 99, contained in Chapter 15 of the Charter. This says that the UN chief, quote, may bring attention of the Security Council any matter which, in his opinion, may threaten the maintenance of international peace and security. In a statement issued to journalists alongside the letter, UN spokesman Stéphane Dujarric said that this was the first time Mr. Guterres had felt compelled to invoke Chapter 99 since taking office in 2017. So I wonder if it explains, what does exactly this mean, though? What does it mean they can do? What is that? What powers does this giving them? That's one thing I'm looking for. Dex,
it's a rarely used, not power, but I guess it's a power. It's rarely used. The power is that the Security General can raise something to the Security Council, and in doing so, he's asking them to call upon a complete ceasefire due to humanitarian issues. He goes on to say that that he thinks there's a great risk of a complete humanitarian collapse in the Strip because of what's going on. This hasn't been used in 50 years. I think the last time Article 99 is extremely rarely used. The last time it was invoked was during fighting in 1971 that led to the creation of Bangladesh and its separation from Pakistan. So, this is
what is the
UN.
source from that? Is that the wiki you're looking at?
No, it's another article I just found, an ABC News article. I'll throw it on the website as well.
Okay.
I can see if I can throw it your way, see if it formats. But yeah, so this is it's not like they have some secret power over every country in the world, but at the same time, every country in the world is part of the UN. And at the Security Council, they can then have discussions. This is a power that the general can use himself to raise an issue to that Security Council and say, in my opinion, you need to do something about this. It's a very big deal. It's rarely used. Obviously, it hadn't been used since in 50 years. And he's bringing it to the level of the Security Council to deal with, in the sense that he would then ask the rest of the countries to demand a ceasefire.
So I'm wondering, already people are really stressed out about this stuff, about the Article 99 thing happening. I guess people are also afraid of UN being involved. We've all heard, the kind of thing of UN soldiers. In fact, there's been a lot of rumors and chatter about UN soldiers coming in with the people through the South. Whether that be true or not, people have been talking about it for like a good month. They had that app that had 200,000 illegal folks be able to schedule a flight into the U.S. Like, it's kind of crazy to think about. And some were even claiming that those may be from UN. Now, UN, can they go? They have their own forces, right?
Well, they have it in the sense that they're brought together of all the countries, and they've had peacekeepers before, but all the countries that participate in that have to also agree as well.
So I wonder if my question is, does Article 99 kind of like Article 4 for NATO, does that lead to another conversation like Article 4 leads to Article 5? Does Article 99 lead to an Article 100 where they physically take action to do this, or is it just calling for a ceasefire? Are they?
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah, it's literally what it says in the sense that he gets to send it up to the Security Council. But let's put in perspective: the Security Council has the U.S. and Russia, which both have veto power. So if either one of them wants to just say, "Yeah, kick rocks," they veto it and it's over with. Russia probably wouldn't. Russia, who's on the side of Iran, would say, "Yes, keep going." If the U.S. Is sticking with Israel, then they would say veto it, and it's over with. And yes, thank you for raising this to our attention, but we're not going to do anything about it. So that's what it's going to come down to: is what does the Security Council do?
Kathy Piana says, what does 99 UN need to get out of the world issue? Who made them boss? They needs to have all of their funding cut and their legal taken into custody. Truth Iris says, 99, you don't know who I am. I got 99 problems, but an article ain't one. Hey, make light of a ending world. That's it. Devin Cutmore, thank you. Merlin, WIS Jen, Miss T, love always. Rashid, we've got Preppermint just tuning in. And thank you. There's a couple of people, it sounds like you just found us. Thank you. If you can, subscribe. And if you really feel generous tonight, please press the like button. And sign up for notifications over at marfooglenews.com. You can actually find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document, but you can also sign up for an email list. That email list is going to be very important. The harsher kind of things that they end up doing to creators, this is how we would be able to contact you if something happened to us. So make sure to go check that out. And who knows what's in our future. Like it's getting really, really, it's a roller coaster ride. So thank you guys for riding it with us all these years. Marlon Rando, we absolutely can't fail. If we go down the world follows, I wonder if every country says that. Gabby B, already done. Hey, thanks for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Amanda Rachel. Every YouTuber asks for thumbs up. I don't really ask for it a lot. But on the shows I do ask, I hope more people would do it. It would be amazing. It would be crazy if everybody who watched this video, and probably 30% watched to this point, press it, see if we can get some crazy number. I think it would show that everybody was like, yeah, I'll do it. I think it'd be cool. I have no idea if it actually helps in the algorithm. All the YouTubers talk about algorithm this, algorithm that. If you're watching, you just want to watch and have information coming your way. I get it. Thank you for the trouble. Thank you for pressing it. I appreciate it. All right. And then make sure to go check out all of our friends, marfooglenews.com/friends. And I hope this update was useful to many of you. A special just kind of messages. Keep your head on a swivel this Christmas season, whether they're Fantastic Freddy, something or other, whether it's, wag the dog situation. I would still keep on, just being aware of your surroundings. Know where you're at, know your exits, that kind of thing. It could save your life at some point. Dex, how do we get to the website?
Oh, the easiest way is to go to the description down below. Although it seems like the platform makes it hard to find that description nowadays. But there's a link right there. It's called the show notes link. It'll take you right here to the web page that has everything on it, including stuff we add, like the two things we were talking about regarding Article 99. So one is the official news.un.org page, which we showed you. And then also there's an ABC article that sort of has their own version of it as well. That's there. including the update on the Bakersfield Christmas parade route incident that happened, which we still don't know what went on there, but pay attention. It'll probably come out. It may be nothing. It may just be an accident, could be a drunk driver, or it could be something bad like we've seen at those parades before. But again, marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show or hit the show notes link down below in the description.
You guys remember for a while it was people swerving into crowds, and then it was people walking into churches and grocery stores. It was like there were sections. It seemed to me like it was like every other day we were watching for something to happen. And it was never a Middle East group or something. It was always like Steve or Bob or something. And during that time, heavy pushes for control on things. Luckily, none of those have really worked, to this day. But they are constantly pushing on every right and every amendment every single day. And at some point, it may win. I mean, it's won in other countries. I hope everybody can hold out on that. Thank you, everybody that has made it to today's show. Thank you for everybody that shares the show out. Thank you for everybody that shares this with somebody you know or a coworker. I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We put a lot of work into it, so it really is. We're very, very grateful to have anybody watching, let alone all of the Marfia that have been here for a long time. So thank you. Dex, thank you so much for your service.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Thank you, Mars World 369. Pretty fresh name, I believe. I'm good with names, that's for sure. Not a face person, but I'm a name person, and that looks new. So thank you so much for your support. And Mitch Mouth and everybody else, Gordesum, thank you so much for subscribing. And anybody really that just joined us that is new tonight, make sure to welcome. If you see new names in the chat, you guys know. You guys are already really good at that. If you see a new name, people welcome, say, hey, what's going on? Because this is supposed to be kind of the outlet, like everybody else in your regular family and friends are saying that you're crazy. You think, you're the nut who thinks the end of the world is coming, when in reality, they're the nut that is trying to avoid it all and trying to tell themselves everything's fine. But this should be a space where you can come and relax. It's not supposed to be a scary thing. It's supposed to be a thing where we all talk about what is being said in MSM, see the patterns, and try to predict what's going to come. Also, to make people aware of the disasters around you and bring a general awareness to all sorts of different types of events, which there was an earthquake in Mexico as well on top of those locusts. So I'm going to be changing a couple things and bringing in some more of the coverage of some of those as well. But yeah, stay tuned to both channels, especially the next couple days. We'll see you in a little bit. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It's now time for a shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
By the bat in the back by the nightstand. Hey, I trigger on the gas, get by the bat in the back by the nightstand. Hey, I trigger on the gas, get by the bat in the back by the nightstand. Hey, I trigger on the gas, get by the bat in the back by the nightstand. Hey, I trigger on the gas, get by the bat in the back by the nightstand. Hey, I trigger on the gas, get by the bat in the back by the nightstand.
Special thank you to Danish Girl, Humpty Bumptawa, Terry Snyder, Choosy Heretic Choose, Carnation Revolution, Susan Big, Necroland TV, Ilea. Good night, Ilea.
What? I said one, Juanita. I said, hey, David, what? I said, no, big bump. I said, on five back with the bitch on bump. I said, a cat, deep pot, hey, with a Ray Johnson, give a firestorm in the Gabby. Nirvana and the I say the old writer and J.A. Pies. Love always in the burger time.